One of the struggles that we face as wedding photographers is converting new wedding inquiries to booked clients. Whether you're out of someone's budget or you never hear back from a lead in the first place, it can be so frustrating to put so much effort into a new lead only to have it fizzle out with no communication. As my prices grew, I found myself running into this issue more and more, which is to be expected, but sometimes it made me question whether or not I was worth what I was charging. If this sounds like something you're going through right now, especially during booking season, keep watching. I'm Peter Barnes, a full-time wedding photographer based out of Nebraska, and throughout my career, I've tested just about every single method of converting leads to clients, all the way from a simple response email to a bougie in-person meeting with gift bags and coffee. I've had success with all of these methods, but ultimately, the one that I found that worked best for me time and time again was to pick up the phone and call your leads. It might sound simple, but I promise you that if you start calling your leads, you will book more of them. Let me explain. As of recently, engagement periods are getting shorter and shorter. A majority of my 2019 and 2020 couples all booked me within a year of their wedding, when just a couple of years ago, it was typical to book your photographer more than a year in advance. What this means is that people are booking their weddings faster and faster, and you need to be able to adapt to that change in pace. If you wait for 3 days to respond to an inquiry, it's time to change. If you wait for 3 days and only send a simple email, it's time to change. If you're making your leads schedule an in-person meeting 2 weeks in advance before providing any information, it's time to change. I want to preface that if you do these things and they work for you, that's amazing, more power to you. But my friend Ben Hartley from Style and Story Creative has an amazing saying. What got you to where you are now will not get you to where you want to be. Ben says that change is something that you should be actively pursuing in your business. Change is going to come whether or not you are ready for it. And being on the front of change is paramount to your success in your business. By the way, if you haven't heard of Ben Hartley and Six Figure Photography, you are missing out on some seriously good info. I'm going to leave a link to his free 7-day crash course in the description. Do yourself a favor, go and sign up. It will change your life. Now, how does calling your leads fit into all of this? First, let's identify a few of the realities that exist when couples are looking for a wedding photographer. They want information, and with a shorter engagement, they need it faster than ever. They are reaching out to multiple photographers at the same time. This is probably their first wedding, and they aren't familiar with all of the language that we use in the industry. They likely want to book a photographer soon, and lastly, they're stressed out. Not only does talking on the phone address all of these issues, I believe it's the best way to communicate your value in today's wedding industry. Let's attack each of these points one by one. They need information, and with a shorter engagement, they need it faster than ever. This is one of the huge benefits of starting your new lead process with a phone call. When I get an inquiry, I respond to that inquiry within an hour of them reaching out with a text message asking them to set up a phone call. That text might look like this. Now let's break this down. First, I introduce myself and I say what I'm texting them for. I then name a specific date and time to see if they're available, usually for the next day. This is important. Giving your lead too many options will oftentimes result in them not doing anything. If you ask them, what time do you have next week, or what time do you have in the next 2 weeks, a lot of the times those options become too overwhelming and they'll end up not saying anything. And then something in their life will come up and they'll forget about it. This is one of the biggest ways that people get ghosted. I hardly ever get ghosted with this method, and I certainly get ghosted less than I would if I just sent them a simple response email. Having this phone call so quickly after an inquiry means that I get that couple's undivided attention for the duration of that phone call. This allows me to effectively communicate my value while still giving them the information they want super quickly. If you're sending your pricing in an email in a PDF, your lead is most likely looking at that pricing and making their choice then and there, and not even giving you the chance to set up a meeting or a phone call. Next, they are reaching out to multiple photographers at the same time. This point ties into the last one very closely. When a couple gets engaged, they're very likely reaching out to many photographers at the same time. This means that the longer you wait, the higher the chance that they will book someone within that time frame. I remember I had an instance where I had a meeting set up with a couple who was really excited to work with me, only to have them text me 2 days before the meeting saying they had already booked another photographer. Remember when I said that people are booking their weddings faster than ever? This is what I mean. Has that ever happened to you? Let me know in a comment. Talking on the phone does 2 things. First, it gets them the critical information they need much faster. Second, you're setting yourself apart from the vast majority of photographers. Most photographers send emails, and it's hard to make yourself stand out in a couple's inbox. Even if you have the most amazing personalized email with your pricing and a link to set up a phone call, it will still blend in with the rest. The phone call needs to happen first. Next, this is their first wedding and they aren't familiar with all of the language that we use in the wedding industry. This one is huge. As wedding photographers, we immerse ourselves in our craft and spend so much time getting better and improving our offerings to our clients. But it's so easy to forget that this is your couple's first time doing this, and they might not know what an engagement session is, or what a first look is, or how many hours of coverage they need. Really take a second to look through your pricing PDF that you send in your email and really think, would I understand this if I wasn't a wedding photographer? I know that my info guides used to be confusing as hell before I started to look at it from this perspective. Talking on the phone allows me to not only tell them what is in my collections, but also explain each item individually and how it affects them and their wedding. If they have any questions during this process, I can answer them immediately and leave them with the confidence of knowing my offerings much better than if I had just sent them an email. Imagine being able to explain to a couple the benefits of having like a second photographer for their specific wedding. Next, they likely want to book a photographer soon. Like I've been saying throughout this entire video, couples are booking their weddings faster and faster. Getting on the phone as fast as you can after inquiry highly increases your chance of booking that client. One of my 2020 couples booked me 1 day after our phone call, which was 1 day after their inquiry. This means they went from new lead to booked in 2 days. Imagine what that might look like in your business. I remember I would get so discouraged after waiting for 2 weeks for an in-person meeting and pouring my heart and soul into my client experience only to have them book someone else. If this is a problem you're having right now, you need to try this. Finally, they're stressed out. This one is simple. Guys, put yourselves in your couple's shoes as they're planning their wedding. This is the most special day of their lives and they have to juggle so many things. Let's face it, emails are stressful. Long emails are stressful, and long emails from 8 different photographers are super stressful. Imagine trying to plan a wedding while also working a full-time job, and 8 photographers start sending you follow-ups every couple of days for 2 weeks. That honestly sounds like hell to me, and more than likely, I would just end up avoiding my inbox for a bit until I really had some time to sit down and work through it all. Talking on the phone allows you to be genuine and human towards your leads, which is something you cannot do as effectively over email. I seriously love spending time talking to my leads and learning about their lives and what they care about before getting into all of the fine details about wedding photography. Usually, after this phone call, couples quickly know if they're gonna hire me for their wedding or they'll let me know I'm out of their budget and we'll move on. You might be wondering what I say during this phone call. For me, I think about what I would do during an in-person pre-consultation, and I basically do the same thing on the phone. I might spend 10 to 20 minutes talking to them about their lives and learning about what they're the most excited about for their wedding. Whenever it feels natural, I'll segue over into my photography offerings and the value that it offers to them. I'll go through my collections and then I'll attempt to make a sale at the end of the phone call. Usually when I say, do you want to reserve the date with me? They'll need to talk it over with their fiance and a couple of other people, at which point I ask to set up a very intentional follow-up date. I'll say something like, would it be okay with you if I followed up on Monday, just to see where things are at? This gives them the expectation that I will be following up with them, and usually couples will have their decision made by this follow-up point. One of the other things that I love about talking on the phone and texting my leads is that it opens up a very direct line of communication between us. I want my clients to feel like I'm their friend and that they can reach out to me for anything. Honestly, I don't like doing things over email very much. I find it much more casual and enjoyable to answer questions and have conversations over the phone. Talking on the phone is scary, and it's really something you have to practice to become effective with. But I promise you that if you try hard and put in a good effort, you'll get good quick. And I think you'll find yourself starting to talk on the phone in other areas of your life as well. Ultimately, you'll start to really enjoy the lead conversion process so much more than if it was just over email. Guys, I know this video had a ton of info with it, so thank you so much for watching up to this point. If there are any questions you still have on this topic, leave a comment below. Let's talk about it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. See you in the next video.